All of us can be called light, but light passes light. You can never compare a candle light with a NEPA light. Matthew 5:14, ye are the light of the world. We have some people, their light can never power 2-bedroom flats. Some people light self can never power.
Have you ever wondered if fasting could be the key to unlocking untapped spiritual power? Get ready for an epic revelation. We'll explore how fasting, often misunderstood, can be the gateway to a profound and immediate divine connection. In moments, we will challenge your beliefs, awaken your curiosity, and show how you can achieve instant spiritual rewards. If you're ready for a journey that will revolutionize your faith, don't miss a second. This is the time to discover what fasting truly means. Let's dive in. God designed the human body as an incredibly precise physical machine with immense power. However, to keep it running, this mechanism requires fuel, which we know as food. To ensure our body receives this vital energy, God instilled in us the appetite, more commonly known as hunger. Food not only satisfies this desire, but also energizes us, integrating into the natural balance to sustain life. But then the question arises, why would someone choose to deprive themselves of food? In the modern era, we are conditioned to eat 3 times a day. Constantly, we are reminded of the importance of a nutritious breakfast to start the day right. The instruction is clear: eat to stay robust. From school, we learn the importance of consuming 3 balanced meals daily and exercising to strengthen the body. However, why then give up eating? Nowadays, the practice of not eating is commonly associated with diets, often adopted for weight loss or health reasons. But there are those who abstain from food for spiritual reasons, a practice known in the Bible as fasting. Fasting is typically practiced during a specific period to achieve a spiritual purpose. This intriguing phenomenon, though complex, highlights how hunger can be seen from different perspectives, varying between biological necessity and spiritual search, offering a fascinating look at the intersection between body, mind, and spirit. Consider the example from the Old Testament, specifically an annual practice among faithful Jews, the obligatory fast. As described in Leviticus 16:29, God established that on the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls and do no work at all, whether citizen or stranger who dwells among you. This day is Yom Kippur, also known as the Day of Atonement. The purpose of this fast observed on the Day of Atonement was clear. God wanted his people to reflect on the solemnity of their salvation. On this day, the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies and offer the blood of an animal to atone for the sins of the people. Leviticus 16:24 details the process. He shall wash his body with water in the holy place, put on his garments, come out and offer his burnt offering and the burnt offering of the people, making atonement for himself and for the people. The reason everyone fasted was to identify with the high priest during this act of sacrifice. A lamb was offered for the forgiveness of the nation's sins. Additionally, Jesus gave instructions on the practice of fasting to his disciples. As recorded in Matthew 6:16-18, he instructed, "Moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces that they may appear to men to be fasting. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face." This teaching emphasizes the importance of genuine fasting, not done for show, but as an intimate expression of faith and repentance. This practice, both in historical and spiritual contexts, offers deep reflection on the connection between sacrifice, forgiveness, and personal renewal. Thus, fasting will remain a discreet act, visible only to the Father who is hidden, and the Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. When you abstain from food, both pleasurable and essential, you draw divine attention. Even in that time, Jesus warned us against the ostentation of fasting, emphasizing that we should not seek public approval with our practices. He emphasized that fasting is a legitimate spiritual discipline, saying, "Whenever you fast," showing that it is an act of temporarily giving up a physical desire, such as food, for a greater spiritual need. Instead of feeding yourself, dedicate yourself to secret prayer, seeking divine intervention. However, if the motivation to avoid food is solely for others to admire your spirituality, then their recognition will be the only reward you receive. Concerns about fasting. If you've never fasted before, the idea of going without food for some time may seem daunting. There are a variety of concerns due to our 3 meals a day routine. Many wonder if they will feel hungry and how they will deal with associated pains. Other concerns include the ability to persevere without succumbing to temptations, like the suggestion from a TV commercial that a chocolate bar could be the solution to an afternoon energy slump. There is also concern about how fasting may be socially perceived. Will my friends think I'm weird if they find out I'm fasting? The answer to this is simple. Fasting is a personal and spiritual practice that, when done with the right intention, transcends concerns about others' perceptions and focuses on strengthening the spirit and seeking a deeper connection with the divine. You don't fast to impress your friends and often don't even share it with them. As Jesus instructed, moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces that they may appear to men to be fasting. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Matthew 6:17-18. This guidance is a reminder that we should not turn our religious practice into a spectacle for others. Fasting is, essentially, a personal and intimate commitment between you and God, often carried out in privacy. However, there are occasions when fasting is done communally. For example, in biblical history, Ezra fasted with 4,000 people to address an issue, and Esther asked all believing Jews to fast for divine intervention. These examples show how fasting can also be an act of unity and solidarity among the faithful, shared in pursuit of a common purpose. Additionally, every year in May, Christians are invited to come together on the National Day of Prayer and Fasting. This event serves as a time for the faithful to gather, both in prayer and fasting, to reflect and seek divine guidance and intervention in their lives and society. This collective gathering highlights the dual nature of fasting as both a personal and communal practice, emphasizing the importance of nurturing both individual and collective spirit. Fasting is a practice that transcends mere food restriction for health or weight loss purposes. It is a biblical discipline rooted in deep spiritual motivations. There are various types of fasts, each with its spiritual purpose, often accompanied by prayer. This practice can be a powerful catalyst for enhancing a person's spiritual fitness and strengthening their ability to intercede in prayer. Many may think that the Christian life does not require discipline, but in reality, it is through spiritual exercises that we build our strength. As soldiers of Christ, we are called to be versatile in various spiritual disciplines, and fasting is one of them. Jesus taught his disciples that intercessory prayer, whether for the church or for the salvation of souls, will face spiritual resistance. In this context, fasting can be likened to the challenge of climbing a mountain, requiring both physical and spiritual robustness. When starting the practice of fasting, it's advisable to begin with modest steps, especially if it's your first experience. Even a small act of faith, which may seem insignificant to others, is a significant step in God's eyes and will be honored. During fasting, not only is abstaining from food relevant, but also the sincerity of the heart is crucial. This is akin to a man proposing marriage. It's not the duration of the proposal that wins the yes, but the genuineness and sincerity of his heart. When starting your fast, don't overly concern yourself with its duration. The most important thing is to ensure that your relationship with God is harmonious and strong. Above all, God values the sincerity and intensity of your prayers more than the length of time you spend fasting. Therefore, if you are new to this practice, you can start simple, like fasting by skipping a meal. Historically, in the Old Testament, Jews were instructed to fast for a whole day on Yom Kippur, which began at sunset and ended at the next day's sunset, according to the Jewish calendar. This method of counting days, where the evening and the morning constituted one day, is mentioned in Genesis 1:5. You can plan to start your fast similarly, beginning a little before sunset by abstaining from the usual evening meal and continuing without eating breakfast and lunch the next day. After sunset, just as many Jews do at the end of the Yom Kippur fast, you can break your fast with a regular meal. This method provides a structure that helps maintain spiritual focus without overwhelming your body, especially if you are just beginning to practice fasting. Fasting with a companion. Although private practice of prayer and fasting forms the backbone of all intercession, if you have never explored this discipline before, it may be beneficial to start your journey with a partner. If the goal of your fast is to seek a specific answer through prayer, it is an excellent idea to invite someone to join you on this spiritual journey. As taught by Jesus in Matthew 18:19, there is special power in unity. Truly, I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, I tell you truly that if two of you on the earth agree about anything you ask for, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. This principle applies not only to prayer, but also to mutual commitment between individuals. Think of it as planning a vacation with a friend. It's much more rewarding when you plan, dream, and share experiences together. Likewise, shared fasting tends to be more fruitful. Prayers made together are often more focused and intense. Additionally, fasting with someone else offers additional advantages. You can discuss doubts, questions, and fears together. If the idea of fasting makes you anxious, the strength of a companion can help you overcome these fears. You can support each other, reaching out to one another to share advice or simply to check on each other's well-being. These conversations can be the encouragement needed to persist in fasting. Finally, don't forget to celebrate. When the fasting period comes to an end, take a moment to reflect and celebrate the achievements and revelations gained, further strengthening the bond created through this shared experience. When you climb a mountain alone, the journey may be a personal test of endurance and determination, and the victory is entirely yours. However, when making this climb accompanied, the experience transforms. You embrace, celebrate together, and later share stories of your achievements with others. Similarly, when completing a fasting period with friends or prayer partners, the feeling of joy is amplified by the shared experience, making the taste of victory even sweeter. Fasting with a companion also creates a system of mutual accountability. The presence of a friend aware of your commitment reduces the temptation to break the fast prematurely or to give in to minor slips, like eating a snack out of hours. This partnership is akin to running or walking to keep fit with a friend. Anyone who has had this experience knows well how a partner's company can motivate you to keep the commitment, especially in the most challenging moments. If you consider yourself a strong person, you may feel that you can face the challenge of fasting alone without any issues. However, for those who may feel less resolute or who are just starting this practice, having someone by your side who understands and shares the same difficulties can be extremely valuable. This collaboration not only strengthens the bonds between participants, but also increases the chances of success in the spiritual journey they decide to undertake together. Fasting with purpose. When preparing to start a fast, it is essential to look inward and clearly identify the reason for your decision. The motivations for fasting are varied, and each person may have a specific reason, just as David did when facing Goliath. While other Israelite soldiers retreated, each with their own justifications for not facing the giant, David was driven by a clear and compelling purpose. Fasting is not just a matter of abstaining from food or devoting oneself to prayer. It is motivated by defined goals. Ask yourself, am I willing to sacrifice my usual pleasures for a greater cause? To solidify your commitment, it's an excellent practice to write down your reasons for fasting. Put them on paper, making them visible and concrete. Keeping your motivations only in mind can make them become blurry or unclear over time. Writing down your reasons also serves to sharpen your focus. Seeing your intentions clearly delineated in words reinforces the seriousness of your commitment and helps maintain determination during times of difficulty. This simple yet powerful exercise transforms abstract thoughts into a tangible action plan, increasing the chances of staying the course during the fasting period. Carefully plan. Do not start your fast casually or negligently. It is essential to plan meticulously to achieve success. Without proper preparation, the chances of failure increase. Avoid fasting just to test your limits. Firmly commit to fasting for a full day, regardless of circumstances. Transform your desire for greater spirituality into concrete action by committing to seek God sincerely. By doing this, you rely on grace and divine support. Types of fasts. Absolute fast. This type of fast consists of complete abstinence from food and water. For example, Paul adopted this practice for 3 days, shortly after encountering the Lord Jesus on the road to Damascus and being struck by blindness. As described in Acts chapter 9, verse 9, "And he, Paul, was 3 days without sight, and neither ate nor drank." It is not advisable for you to start your fasting experience with an absolute fast. This method is appropriate for those facing great distress or seeking a solution to serious problems, such as overcoming an addiction or defending against spiritual threats. Normal fast. During this type of fast, you abstain from all solid foods, consuming only liquids. In the Bible, this is the most common type of fast mentioned, referring to people who deprive themselves of solid foods, while the intake of liquids is rarely discussed. Partial fast. This type of fast involves the exclusion of certain types of solids or liquids, but not all. It is also known as the Daniel fast, where Daniel abstained from the king's food, preferring vegetables and water, as described in Daniel 1:12. "Please test your servants for 10 days. Let us be given vegetables to eat and water to drink." This fast did not harm Daniel or his friends. At another time, as in Daniel 10:3, he again adopted a partial fast, avoiding choice food. "Neither meat nor wine touched my lips, and I used no lotions until the 3 weeks were over." This fasting specified the exclusion of pleasant foods similar to our desserts or cakes, basically a dessert fast. Meat, opting for a vegetarian diet. Wine, abstaining from drinks that provide pleasure or joy. John Wesley's fast. John Wesley, founder and leader of the Methodist movement, called all his preachers to periodic meetings in London or other chapels. To spiritually prepare, Wesley fasted for 10 days before each meeting, consuming only wholemeal bread and water. This period of fasting and prayer aimed to spiritually strengthen Wesley and his ministers so they could positively influence their congregations. This type of fast is uncommon in Christian contexts, being more used for medical reasons, especially to identify reactions or allergies to certain food groups. The process begins with a normal or absolute fast of 1 day to cleanse the system. In the subsequent 6 days, only one new food group is introduced and consumed each day, allowing for rotation between 6 distinct groups. This methodology is effective for identifying which food may be causing health problems through an elimination process. How to choose a fast. When planning to start a fast, consider some important factors. Reflect on your specific situation to choose the most appropriate type of fast. Here are some suggestions. First, fasting factor. If you are preparing for your first fast, it is recommended to start with a one-day fast, similar to that observed on Yom Kippur. If your goal is to address a serious or prolonged issue, it may be more appropriate to fast one day a week for 3 weeks, instead of starting directly with a 3-day fast. Remember that as a beginner, you are entering into an unknown journey and should proceed with caution, learning new skills and attitudes to care for both body and soul. Ideally, your first fast should be normal, meaning a full day consuming only liquids. This practice is beneficial to prepare your body and minimize future adverse reactions if you decide to advance to stricter fasts, which include total abstinence from food and liquids. Matching factor. It is important to align the purpose of your fast with the chosen type of fast. Opt for a normal fast for routine requests and a stricter fast for more serious issues. Comfort factor. Feel comfortable with both the duration and type of fast you choose. When deciding what to eliminate during the prayer period, avoid doubt and guilt. Choose a type of fast that allows you to feel confident and comfortable with your decision. Time factor. Various aspects should be considered when deciding to fast and determining the duration of the fast. Evaluate your weekly schedule and identify the least suitable days for fasting. Consider upcoming special events where fasting may not be advisable, such as holidays or weddings. When starting out, avoid prolonged fasts, as it is important to understand how your body and emotions will react. A one-day fast is a good start. Regardless of the type of fast chosen as your first, remember that it is an act of faith. God recognizes your intention and will reward you accordingly. Prayer. We ask God for wisdom to understand the spiritual purpose and benefits of fasting, reminding us that it is not only the deprivation of food that brings us closer to Him, but also the sincerity of our hearts and the desire for a deeper connection through prayer. May we fast not to be seen by others, but to be seen by the heart of God, who watches in secret and rewards openly. We thank the Lord for the strength and discipline that fasting provides us, teaching us to rely more on Him and less on ourselves. Amen. If this content was valuable to you, I would like to ask for your support by subscribing to not miss any of our upcoming videos. Together we can enlighten more minds and expand our understanding. Thank you for being here, and may God bless you.